Hello everyone. So I recorded this video a few days ago. I recorded it all in one sitting. If there's any sound issues, I apologize. I'm gonna work on getting a better mic because for some reason this little one that I have here, every now and then it decides it likes to crackle and snap even if I'm not talking very loud. And I don't know how to fix that. I've tried to fix it in editing and it just doesn't go away. So thank you if you are watching and you hear that and you don't just go ugh and leave. Thanks for bearing with me because I need to get a better mic. But you know what? I was on limited funds and now I can try and invest a little bit more into this channel outside of the yarn. So thank you. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rhonda, this is Yarn Core DIY, and this is part 2 of my book blanket journey. I don't remember how long I said I was going to do this for, maybe for a year, which I would have to look back at my old video to see when I started this. So I think I started in January because I didn't want to start a temperature blanket and I didn't want to, yeah. Temperature blanket is done. That was its own adventure. But yeah, I didn't want to do a temperature blanket and I wanted something a little bit different, but not too different. So I started a book blanket. And with that book blanket, if you have not seen my last video, I will give you a brief description of what it is. My book blanket is going to be whatever book I read, the genre is going to be represented by a color, and then the number of rows I crochet will be represented by an equal amount of rows. So like if the pages are like if the book is only 100 pages, it'll only be one row. If the book is 200 pages, 2 rows, 300, 3 rows, and so on and so forth. And anything that is like obviously no books are even. They don't end like at 300 exactly. So if a book is like 544 pages, foreshadowing, if a book is 544 pages, that's under 550. That'll be 5 rows. It'll be counting for the 500 thing. As for the colors I chose, I'm using all loops and threads, soft classics from Michaels because I did not want to use anything from Joanne since I didn't know how long they'd be around. And I am using a 5mm Clover and More hook. And the colors I chose are, for horror, it's going to be clay. For thriller and suspense, it's going to be reef. For fantasy, it's going to be purple. For romance, comedy, rom-com, it'll be raspberry. Dark romance is wine. And for true crime, it'll be navy. And potentially, I'm looking at reading a sci-fi book, so I might have to add in a different color. But we're not there yet, so I'm not going to buy yarn if I don't need it yet. If you want any kind of indication on what I typically like to read, this is all of the purple I have left. And as you know, the purple is fantasy. But that's because from January to now, the end of May, I have been reading the Fourth Wing series. I know in my last book I did Fourth Wing, but then I finally read Iron Flame, and then I also read Onyx Storm. But that's not what we're going to start with. So let me grab the little blanket that I've started, and I will let you know what the first book is before I jump into that series. So as you can see from my last video, I've added 3 more rows, or I guess 3 more books, because we had left off, I had just started Fourth Wing, and this was In the Silent Woods. If you want to know my reviews on those books, that's in the part 1 of this series. This is part 2, so we're moving on. But This book right here, these two tiny little rows, is a book I read by a Japanese author named, I'm not going to try and pronounce his last name, but the first name, look, it's like Ryu. I'll put it here. So this book is a thriller, suspense, philosophical fiction. Um, and it's called In the Miso Soup, and it is only 244 pages, which is why you can see this is a very small row. Very, very quick read. This book I like to read when I was going to the gym. I had a paperback copy, so I would take it to the gym with me, and while I was sitting in the sauna, I would read however many pages until I just couldn't be in the sauna anymore. Actually, I do not recommend doing this because the glue on the book started getting a little loose and the binding started getting a little loose and pages started to come out. So I had to like repair it, and that's don't do it. But then also I can't read my phone in there because my phone overheats. So whatever. But In the Miso Soup is about a young gentleman in Japan, and he works in the tourism industry. I don't want to say it because I don't want my account to get banned, whatever, in Japan. And I don't want to give away too much because a lot of it is like it's a suspense. You don't want the result. But he works in this industry, and he gets an American tourist named Frank who comes to Japan specifically. He says it's for work, but it feels like it's specifically for this, and that's just the impression you get from him. He's done research on it. He knows all about it. He isn't like, there's just something always off about him that our main character recognizes, and he just feels off the entire time. At some point in the book, it takes a insane turn. There's a lot of gore, and this is a suspense. I thought it was going to be a horror book, but it is a suspense, and I was not expecting this when it happened, how it happened. So if you if you decide to read it, just know. Okay, I had to go get some water. But if you decide to read it, just know at some point it's going to do a twist that you weren't expecting. Or you might be expecting, actually, but you just don't know when it's going to happen. And so then it does. Another thing I really liked about this book is the way it ended. It ended in a very just, what I want to say is clean way. It didn't feel like it was rushed. It didn't feel like it was some fantastical ending that would never happen. It just felt very clean, very realistic, and yeah, that's really it. So I believe I rated this a 4 out of 5 or a 3 out of 5. Hold on, let me check. Okay, I checked my Goodreads. 3.5 out of 5 is what I did on my like self star system, and then 3 out of 5 is what I did on Goodreads. But that was the first book, new row. I did say I was going to read 3 books by the end of May, and I did. So, just not the 3 books I expected. So, the next book we're going to talk about is Iron Flame, and I want to say that I loved it, but I kind of just liked it. Um, as you can see, it's another fantasy book. It is a little bit longer than Fourth Wing, so it has 6 rows. It's in the 600 range. It's fantasy. It's purple. Um, but things I didn't like. The arguments between the main characters feel very high school. They feel like they could be like, we don't need to keep hashing on these things. Um, yes, they are in a school, but they don't go to the school until they're in their 20s. So I feel like there should be a little bit more maturity, a little bit more. You are in everyday life or death situations, and you are drawing arguments out for 10 chapters. It seems unnecessary. Um, there's just, it's just honestly that is just like a little bit much to me. if the writing felt a little sloppy, felt a little rushed, and I don't blame the author for that. I honestly blame the culture of book talk for that, because everyone is in such a need of instant gratification that they need the next book now, 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 and it's like books take time. Creativity takes time, editing takes time, but if you don't have the time and you're worried about the next book coming in and everyone's just going to lose interest, stuff gets rushed. Not really a tangent on the book, not really a tangent on the author, but it's how I feel nonetheless. Um, Things I did like. I like where the story is going. I can tell there's a good build up. I can tell that there is more looking into the characters, more character development, the introduction of the dragons. All of that is really good. Um, or I guess just seeing more of the dragons. All that is really good, and I really like it. But I will say it's a sloppy sequel, and I feel like she could have done better. Um, I don't like how the main character goes from being like this badass, super confident person, and then she's, as soon as she's in a relationship, she slips back into being insecure and young. Sorry, someone just came home. But yeah, just a lot of things in the book. Not a big fan of the repetitiveness of the arguments, and the like, I like the character development, but I also don't like the character devolvement. So I gave it a 4 out of 5 because I did want to read it, but it didn't like grab me in right away. Didn't make me want to keep reading it, and it also took me like a month and a half to read it because I kept putting it down and forgetting about it because I had so much other stuff going on. And I like my books to be good enough that they distract me from everything else going on, and that just did not happen. So 4 out of 5. Was excited for the next one, but yes. Hello everyone. So as you can see, hold on, let me check. As you can see, I am in a different shirt, different day than most of this video, including the outro, and that's because the review for Onyx Storm only imported the audio with no video. I don't know what happened. It's done that a few times, and I can't seem to find a fix. So I'm going to redo the review of the last book for this video, and then yeah, I'll get to editing it so then I can post this. But thank you. So, Onyx Storm is the last book I have read that is on this book blanket, and I remember that I did say I was going to read 3 books by May, which I think I've mentioned, or by the end of May, which I think I mentioned in a few videos, and that's why this video is coming out on the last week of May. I have read In the Miso Soup, which you just saw a review for, Iron Flame, which you just saw a review for, and Onyx Storm, which is what this one's going to be a review for. And I know I didn't have very nice things to say about Iron Flame. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Fourth Wing. I enjoyed Iron Flame. But in complete honesty, each new book I like less and less. It's I feel like the author has everything she needs for the perfect equation of a fantasy book. She has a quest, she has a love interest, she has something making that love interest go wrong. She's got the friend group that is building her up. The dragon has its own quest. There's the history of the villain that we have yet to uncover. And it just feels like there's too much time spent on the smut, which I know that's what a lot of people like about the books, but I do think there's such a thing as too much, because there's so much storyline that could be added. This book is a fantasy, so it's purple, and it is 544 pages. So I did 5 rows, but I feel like so many of those pages were just unnecessary and unrealistic sex scenes. But I guess it sells. Some people like it, some people don't. I am on the side where I don't mind it. I like a few. I loved Akatar, but I just feel like in this book it's overdone. There's so much of it. It takes away from the storyline. There were entire pages that I skipped because I was just like, okay, we get it. He's good in bed. Okay, we get it. Zayden is hot. We get it. But it just was over and over and over again. And I just, I mean, call me a buzzkill, but I just wasn't, it just did not bring me in like the other books did. Um, I took my time to finish it because I did have a lot of stuff going on, but most books I read and it just like if they're good, like Fourth Wing, I read really quick. I got sucked in, I read the whole thing. I was like, I can't wait for the next one. Iron Flame, I read it. I was like, okay, this is okay. It's not as good as the first one, but you know what? I'm excited for the third one. By the time I had read them, the third one was already out. So I read the third one, and it feels like she has such a big imagination and such a big world built up in her mind, but she doesn't know how to put it into a book and like properly explain everyone. There's so many storylines to keep up with, and there's some things that could have had more descriptions and some things that could have had less. I feel we could have known more about Zayden's past. The Devarelli storyline was so like it wasn't long enough for me. I just felt like it was kind of glazed over. All of the stops on the different little islands trying to find the Irids. I felt like I was reading little mini series in a book while all the other stuff was going on. And I just felt like there could have been more room for it, more explanation, more exploration. But we got what we got. And I do feel like that's part of the issue of authors feeling like they have to rush to get books out before they are, surpassed or nobody cares. And they're forced to write books quicker and editing is getting sloppier. But that's a rant for another time. So for me, Onyx Storm, 3.5 out of 5. I am going to read the next ones when they come out, but I'm not like chomping at the bit for them to come out. Like when they come out, I'll get them and I'll read them. But it is what it is. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment. Tell me why I'm wrong on my opinions on the books. Tell me what you thought of the books, because I know a lot of people that watch this have read Onyx Storm, have read Iron Flame. I know a lot of people have also not liked them, but I know a lot of people that love them. So let me know where you land on the hate it or love it Onyx Storm, Iron Flame timeline. I hate it, but I love it. And I hate that I love it. So that's where we are. I'm going to keep reading the books. I have 3 more books that I'm going to read for my next series. I have them picked out. I'm not going to let you know what they are, but I am almost done with the first one. And don't be surprised, it's another thriller. So that one is, I'm like 60% of the way through. And so that will be the first one on the next series. This has been part 2 of building my book blanket, and thank you for watching.